Hey guys, Tavis Piattoly, sports dietitian with the Taylor Hooten Foundation. And to kick off 2021 on our first nutrition topic, I want to talk about really 5 strategies that could be preventing you from losing body fat, weight, however you want to really look at it. I know we get sometimes so obsessed with the scale, and the scale could pretty much derail our moods and emotions. A lot of people really rely on the scale to help them understand progress, but the scale is irrelevant in regards to success. I know that's easy for me to say and a lot difficult for others to accept because the scale doesn't truly tell you what's going inside your body. But a lot of people let that scale kind of control the way they feel every day, which if they don't see those numbers kind of fall the way they want them to feel, they typically self-sabotage and just kind of go back and think, oh, I'm going to go back to my old habits because we're trying to be perfect. In the book Finish by John Acuff, 92% of people fail on diets on day 2, and it's because they're trying to be perfect, and we can't be with that. So, when we look at weight loss, it's not about how much weight someone loses. It's the lean mass they maintain, as well as how much body fat they lose. I see some people celebrating 20 pounds of weight loss in 6 weeks. Well, our body can really only lose about 1 and 1.5 pounds of fat. Anything additional is going to be water and muscle. Someone who might be 100, 150 pounds overweight, that's going to be a little bit higher on how much they can lose. So let's kind of talk about that. What are some strategies that might be preventing you from seeing the results that you want to see? Number one is you're not really in a deficit. Now, weight loss is a formula of calories in, calories out. If your calories in is less than what your body is expending, then you should see some sort of weight loss on the scale. There are some factors that may be preventing that, but most people think they're in a deficit because we typically underestimate how much we're eating. Those foods you might be picking while you're cooking, those little snacks that you might not count and really track. So it's important. I recommend you write down what you eat for 2 or 3 days and 24 hours. Be honest about it. Look at it and say, okay, even count the cookie, the alcohol, anything else. And then truly kind of take a look and put that into some sort of app that can help you track that and get an idea of where you are. If it says you should be 15 or 1600 and you're at 2000, we need to make some adjustments. So problem is most people are not truly under eating in regards to not being in a nice deficit. Now, when you're in a deficit, we don't want to be in a drastic deficit. I see some of these crazy programs starting people out at 1100, 1200 calories. That's just ridiculous. That's to sell you something. They're not truly focused on helping you achieve success. A deficit should be a nice progressive deficit. For example, if your body needs 2000 calories, you should probably start at 18 or 1700. We need to help you hit a plateau, lose weight plateau, drop again, drop again. You don't want to start at the bottom because you really don't have much room to go any lower besides crash dieting, and that's going to lead to muscle loss. So that's number one. Make sure you're in a deficit. More than likely you're not, but if so, let's get you in a nice, safe deficit. Number 2 is you're probably not eating enough protein. Now, there's a lot of research that says different numbers, but a good safe place is about 80% of your body weight, 0.8 grams per pound. So take your body weight, let's say it's 200, multiply that times 0.8. That's 160 grams of protein a day. Spread that out evenly throughout the day, whether that's 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals. It doesn't matter. Meal frequency is irrelevant. You don't have to eat every 3 hours. There's no science to support using that method. If you want to do this in 4 meals, that's fine. If you want to do it in 6, it really just depends on what works best for you. But protein, when in a deficit, when trying to lose weight, will maintain your muscle. And that's the key. Most people I see are not eating nearly enough protein, so they're compromising their muscle, which also controls your resting metabolic rate, which will impact how quickly that someone really reaches their goals and maintains their muscle and loses body fat. Number 3 are weekend habits. What are you doing on weekends? Most people think, oh, Monday through Friday, I'm good. I'm consistent. I do the same thing. Weekends come, I don't even really think about, what we do. It's like, oh, I'm going to drink a ton of alcohol, or I'm going to not exercise, and I'm going to eat more. So those 2 days can offset all the progress you've made in 5. If you have really good 5 days, I look at that as a +5. If you have 2 days where you're in a massive surplus, that's a -2. That's really a +3 for the week instead of a +6 or 7. Maybe have 6 solid, consistent days and have a maintenance day like on Saturday or Sunday. That way you're not going over, but you're also not going drastically under, and you're not trying to be, tracking, or you're not trying to really be in a drastic deficit or restrict, because you don't have to. You just have to have balance. So watch your weekend habits. Think about ways you can get better and how you can scale back a little bit. And again, don't strive for perfection here because you can't be perfect. Number 4, and really something that I see a lot of people struggling with, is they're just not eating enough, and they're doing way too much activity. that can cause a lot of inflammation. So, if you're not eating enough to support whatever you're doing, then chances are you're eating, way too little, which is going to stall your progress. Again, if we want to see consistent progress, we have to start, at a probably a 400 or 500 calorie deficit, not at 1,000, not at a 1,500 calorie deficit, because you're never going to have a chance to go much lower. I see so many people, again, going back to celebrating how much weight they lose. Well, it's not how much you lose, it's how long can you sustain that and maintain it. So if you're at that same weight a year later, 2 years later, that's a success story. So that's something to think about, is, are you eating enough to support what your body's doing? Which leads to number 5, too much training. Now, exercise is great. 60 studies show that exercise is an ineffective tool for weight loss. Exercise alone is not going to help you lose weight. This is 99.9% of what you're putting inside your mouth and body. Your diet is going to be the primary factor. Exercise has hundreds of other benefits, from brain health to cardiovascular health to mood, depression, etc. It helps in a lot of different things that we need. And as the body stays more active, you're going to want to stay more active. It's going to crave activity. But if you're doing more, then your body, especially lifting, you're going to have a lot of inflammation. That's not going to really help on the scale, because chances are the body is going to stay elevated on the scale. So look at your training. I always tell people the best way to lose fat, not weight, fat, lift weights 3 to 5 days a week, nice progressive, slow calorie deficit, but adequate protein. Those two factors, adequate protein and a little bit of a deficit, combined with a strength training program and moderate cardio, probably going to help you lose more body fat than will scale weight over time. I've seen more people lose scale weight a week they take off of training, because they have less inflammation, they're getting a lot of sleep. So again, it's a complicated puzzle. It's not something that's just going to be like, hey, do this, lose weight. But don't give up. Stay consistent with your process. Every study, whether it's on every diet, whether it's keto, whether it's low carb, whether it's low fat, they all work. Intermittent fasting. There's not one better than the other. You have to figure out what works best for you. There's never a one-size-fits-all approach. There never will be a one-size-fits-all approach. If that was the case, we wouldn't have 60 to 70% of our country being overweight or obese. So, try to stay consistent with this process, and don't get too frustrated. Continue to work on your goals. Stay consistent with your habits, and reach out if you need help. So be sure to follow us, taylorhooton.org. We have a lot of resources for you guys. Thank you guys, and I hope this was very beneficial.